Hi guys, today I thought I'd take 5 minutes out of my time and I want to talk a little bit about what happened this past week on Raw with the whole John Cena and Miz situation. Now, not only do I want to talk about that, I want to talk about some of the community on YouTube and the community around the wrestling community, basically the internet wrestling community, or as Matt Hardy likes to call it, the OWC. Personally, I don't like to call it that. I just like to call it the internet, the smart wrestling fans. Basically, that's what I call them. The smart wrestling fans who know partially what the business is. I mean, we don't know what the full business is. Come on, you got to be in the business to know the business. But that's where the problem lies with some of these people. I have watched quite a number of videos today and yesterday. Once Miz won his WWE Championship by cashing in the Money in the Bank. Excuse me. It was big. It was a big situation on Raw, and I loved it. I'm a big Miz fan. I'll admit I wasn't a fan of Miz when he came in. I thought the whole deal with Miz was kind of lackluster, and I actually thought he was going to be released within his first year. But it looks at the way things were going for him. I mean, he came in to be a professional wrestler, trained to be a professional wrestler, but they just shoved him in as the host of SmackDown. Was his first major role on SmackDown. He was a backstage interviewer. I mean, look at that, from a backstage interviewer to WWE Champion. That's unbelievable. But here's where the problem lies. Now, nobody will be as tough on today's wrestling than an Attitude Era fan, and I am a huge Attitude Era fan, and I got plenty of people who can back me up on that. My favorite wrestler of all time is well, actually, you know what? He's not my favorite wrestler of all time. He's actually my favorite wrestler in the WWF of all time. Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I'm big fans of The Rock, old school Kurt Angle, Biker Taker, Mask Kane. I'm all for those guys. The new wave of once. See, here's the thing. Once the Attitude Era was over, you could tell there was a kind of like a bit of a slump in wrestling, and things were just kind of up in the air. We didn't know what era we were in. We're like, where are we here? What are we doing? And well, I considered that to be the Brock Lesnar era and the John Cena era. Now, here's where the problem lies with this. We had the biggest era that wrestling ever had, which is the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars era, the Austin era, the Goldberg era, the NWO era. That was the big era in professional wrestling. It just surged, and people loved it because it became such a reality-based show. It didn't seem fake. Like everything, all the promos and everything you saw, well, except for the supernatural shit that Undertaker and Kane did. Besides that, everything just seems so real. And then when Austin left, it just took a nosedive because let's face it, Austin was the biggest name in professional wrestling during that time. If anything, Austin was bigger than Hulk Hogan at that time. He surpassed Hogan's era as well in fandom and all that. Now, once he left, it took a nosedive, and then we had Brock Lesnar came in, who was this is where people don't get it. Brock Lesnar. This is actually, I tweeted Kevin Nash because Kevin Nash bashed The Miz before becoming WWE Champion. This is where Kevin Nash doesn't really understand. Well, he does understand the wrestling business. He's been in it, but I don't think he can get over it, is what I mean. He can't seem to get through his head. He's an old man now, and he's like a Ric Flair, worn out, tired out, go home. And he's done the right thing by going home, but he doesn't say the right things. He believes that he probably could draw bigger than The Miz at this time. If he were to return to WWE, nobody would know who he is, because their PG product is geared towards kids, and these kids are going to be growing up with the product. So eventually WWE will turn around and become a TV14 product again to grab the attention of these fans. It'll just take some time. I mean, look at it this way. Back in the 80s, they had their PG era back in the 80s, but these kids were growing out of it, and because these group of kids that were interested in it and the other group of kids that weren't, they just weren't interested in it. But as they grew older, they had to match kind of like the growing age of these kids, and they switched over to TV14, and that's when the kids were stuck on it after, because what kid doesn't like to see what 14 or 15-year-old doesn't rebel against their parents or anything, and they like to see Steve Austin turn around and tell Vince McMahon, screw you, up yours, and all that other stuff, Eventually, as time goes on, WWE will do the exact same thing as they did back then. They will grow with their audience and head back to TV14, probably in another 5, 6, 7 years time. When these kids are a lot older. But right now, they're doing the smart thing with this youth movement. Is what I'm going with. The youth movement. If you think about it, this is what WWE has been trying to do all along, but they just had a slump of stars. They didn't really have any big, not big. Well, you can't be big and just come in. They didn't really have any charismatic people to lead the way. Now, you got, as I said, you got the Brock Lesnar era, which only had Brock Lesnar. John Cena came in as a fresh face at that time. You had that was about it. You had Brock Lesnar and John Cena as probably two big new fresh faces at the time. Can't really name much more. Rey Mysterio has been around for a while, but he I don't know what it is about Rey Mysterio, but the kids love him. But here's the thing. It's just with a youth movement, it helps the business a lot, because let's face it, in probably another 5 years' time, maybe less, who knows, John Cena won't be around. He won't be around. John Cena's not going to stay as long as The Undertaker in wrestling. Neither is Randy Orton. All these guys are starting to become tired and old. John Cena will probably want to move on with his life afterwards. Everybody gets sick of it once in a while. Oh, hold on. Joey Styles just tweeted here, because I got Twitter Fox. He just tweeted, "I'm sorry I prematurely revealed Aksana's was eliminated before it was streamed, despite the fact that it happened 3 hours earlier, period. Are you fans sorry that my WWE contract expires this Friday? Good night and happy Thanksgiving." Oh, somebody's going to TNA. Oh boy. Wow. Bombshell. And while I'm recording this. Wow. Okay, well, something else to talk about while I'm doing this then. But, oh wow, we'll get back to that in a second, but that was just huge. I get Twitter updates, kind of like a MSN Messenger on my Firefox, like, it's called Twitter Fox, and they pop up, and I just received it just now. Wow, that's huge. Alright, anyway, back to where I was talking here, about what I was talking about here. Yeah, The Miz. Sorry, I'm getting a bit confused. I just got bombshelled by that. Anyway, the WWE are doing the right thing by this youth movement. They need fresh stars. They need new stars. Because as I said, John Cena, Randy Orton, about 5 years from now, they won't be around. And let's face it, without those guys, and without pushing the younger stars, who have you got? You need to start pushing people like Sheamus, Wade Barrett, The Miz. Even though The Miz was part of the slump of stars to come in, along with John Morrison and like those kind of people. They've released a lot of the new slump of stars. I mean, you remember the Decks, you remember the Heartthrobs, you remember the Basham brothers, Orlando Jordan. All these guys have been released because they were just a huge slump and nobody really cared at that time. But that's also because their product wasn't PG. They were still geared towards the Attitude Era fans because they were TV14. And because they were TV14 and it was trying to gear still towards those Attitude Era fans, nobody cared. All they wanted to see was Austin, Rock, Mick Foley, all those guys, from the Attitude Era. But those guys had moved on at the time. You know, Mick Foley's wrestling again apparently, but at the time had moved on, and you know they were over it. They were done, and because people just didn't care anymore, of course they're going to have a ratings slump as well. So their only option is basically to switch to PG and introduce new stars to young kids. And WWE are doing it so right. They're just doing it right now. Something's going on. Like you're talking to a guy who loves Attitude Era. I will defend it to the bone. It's the best product that was ever out there. Right? It's better than today's product. It's fucking way better than today's product. And I think Good Mike Work puts it best when he says today's product is you know, I won't say it exactly like that. It's bad. I'll put it quote unquote. It's bad to be a wrestling fan these days. He doesn't exactly say that. He uses a slur, but I won't say what it was. It's bad to be a wrestling fan, but at the same time, it's good because you're getting these new wave of stars who are going to lead the path for the future. And if Miz is going to be one of their top stars to lead the future, fantastic. The guy can cut a promo. The guy can, he can hold his own in the ring. He's not the best, but he's not the worst. I mean, everybody's not the best and not the worst. Don't tell me that, Shawn Michaels does not have his flaws in the ring. Don't tell me that Ric Flair. Don't tell me, that Triple H doesn't have his flaws in the ring. Everybody has their flaws in the ring, but they're not the worst. Okay? Yes, Shawn Michaels is a fucking awesome performer. That guy can work. Can he work? Yes. Can he wrestle? Look up the definition of wrestling. Then you'll understand what I'm talking about. Not wrestling does not mean high flying, top rope, kick to the face, and all that bullshit. Okay? Can he wrestle? Can he perform? Fuck yes. Can the Miz perform? He's alright. I guess he's good enough. He's better than Cena. He's better. Look, if anything, Orton's Viper gimmick, it's running stale now. They need to start pushing some fresh, new things forward now. And if, it confuses me that they've even turned Orton face, because his whole gimmick is meant for a heel. I mean, alright, fine, Steve Austin, but at the same time, Steve Austin can pull off that because he's basically telling his boss to F off. Orton, I don't get it. He comes out, I'm pissed because, John Cena might screw me over. And I'm just like, dude, where is the heel in this? There is no... I see Orton kind of like a neutral. He tries to be heel, but people cheer him, so he kind of goes face when he gets out there. But it just doesn't work. To the eyes and to the ears, it just does not work. So... I don't know whether they'll probably turn Orton heel sometime, but this is also a problem where they've given the belt